The Russia-Ukraine conflict is entering an extremely dangerous phase, with the balance of power shifting on the battlefield. Meanwhile, behind the international negotiation table, we need to be frank in acknowledging the truth that Ukrainian analysts admit. Russia's growing capability. The most significant turning point of the 2025 war was the use of unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, to attack Ukraine's supply lines. Russia capturing a few war villages or small areas is not just about minor events, but also like direct blows to the lifeblood of Ukraine's combat capability. Russian drones continuously attacking rear supply depots, ammunition warehouses, and reinforcements is causing a severe shortage of all combat resources, from ammunition and fuel to manpower. In other words, Russia holds the key to strangling Ukraine's defense capabilities. And that immediately led to consequences on the diplomatic front. As favor, severely weakening Kiev. In Washington, we are witnessing a dramatic internal struggle. Some influential members of the Trump administration are publicly pushing for an end to the conflict, on terms favorable to Russia. Their argument is very pragmatic and cold. Ukraine should accept the deal right now. If you do not want to face the risk of having to accept much more unfavorable terms in the future, due to a severe shortage of all combat resources. However, Ukraine and its European partners are doing their utmost to persuade President Trump to put pressure on Russia to achieve a more balanced agreement. Their goal is very clear: to prevent Ukraine from being pushed into an extremely weak position both on the battlefield and at negotiating. Previously, on November 30th, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in special has met with Ukrainian negotiators in the state of Florida to discuss a plan proposed by Washington aimed at ending the conflict in Ukraine. A plan that Ukraine considers too biased towards Russia. In the early stages of the conflict, Ukraine once held a clear advantage in drones on the battlefield. By using advanced tactics and technologies, over the past few years, UAVs have significantly helped Ukraine compensate for its infantry shortage and slowing the Russian advance on several key offensive fronts. However, this autumn, Russian forces have gained an advantage in the tactical drone competition. They have an advantage in the number of drones in key areas, while deploying new tactics, causing significant difficulties for Ukraine's supply operations. This trend is assessed as unfavorable for both the negotiation capabilities and the ability of Ukraine to maintain its position in 2026. Not only were communication routes destroyed, but even the notion of a safe rear area was gradually fading. However, experts also note that although Russia is increasing pressure on the drone front, they have not yet achieved a strategic breakthrough. Moreover, the current battlefield model is almost unfeasible for swarms of cheap drones. It can observe and target every movement of soldiers or vehicles. However, what is more concerning for Ukraine is that its forces can become exhausted if we cannot regain the initiative in the high-tech drone warfare. Russia has increased the use of small-sized drones throughout the war, deploying UAVs to perform reconnaissance missions, guide artillery fire, and attack Ukraine's frontline positions. Notably, Russia changed its drone tactics in 2024. After Ukrainian forces poured into the Kursk region, Moscow has established a new unit called Rubicon, bringing together the best drone operators. Focusing on disrupting Ukrainian logistics in Kursk, this unit uses fiber optic controlled drones. Connect directly to the controller via cable to avoid signal interference. Logistical disruptions caused Ukrainian strongholds in Kursk to quickly collapse, forced Kiev to retreat in the spring of 2024. After the Battle of Kursk, Rubicon expanded its operations to the eastern front of Ukraine, using proven tactics and training from many other Russian drone units. According to Ukrainian officers, Rubicon primarily focuses on medium-range targets. They are usually at least 19 kilometers from the front line. Instead of attack, they have two main tasks: disrupting Ukrainian logistics and targeting drone-operating soldiers. Ukrainian logistics units and drone teams are suffering higher casualties than frontline infantry forces. These losses force Ukrainian pilots to launch FPV drones from greater distances, reducing attack effectiveness. In contrast, Russian drones with longer ranges are flying deep into Ukrainian rear areas. Experts note that Russia's military experience is giving it an edge in medium-range attack. They are hitting targets 40 to 70 kilometers behind the front lines. Although Ukrainian FPV drones remain active on the front line, they lack the weapons to strike logistics, command centers, and strategic enemy targets. The danger zone is shifting strongly from the rear of Ukrainian lines as Russia has significantly improved its capabilities. In addition to fiber optic guided drones, Russian units are deploying fixed-wing Lancet drones, with a flight range of up to 25 miles, about 40 kilometers. These drones have given Russia a considerable advantage of the negotiating table. The terms in the U.S. peace plan favor Russia, so Ukraine has had to make efforts to persuade and negotiate with the U.S. to make sense. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff met with Ukrainian negotiators in Florida. On November 30th, officials from both countries focused on revising the 28-point plan proposed by President Donald Trump, developed during U.S.-Russia negotiations. This plan has been criticized as too biased toward Moscow's demands. Initially, the plan envisioned Ukraine ceding the entire Donbass region to Russia, imposing limits on the size of the Ukrainian military, and preventing the country from joining NATO. Negotiators said the plan has been modified, but details were not disclosed. The meeting in Miami aimed to determine whether the U.S. and Ukraine could align their views sufficiently. If the two sides clarified the remaining sticking points, U.S. envoys could proceed to the next round of shuttle diplomacy, with a unified and feasible plan, notably including Mr. Witkoff's planned trip to Russia this week. A peace roadmap is being quietly drafted within the administration of U.S. President, but not through traditional diplomatic channels, rather through economic leverage and business opportunities. This strategy is the culmination of an approach outlined by the Kremlin before President Trump's inauguration. It aims to persuade the U.S. administration to view Russia as a land of opportunity rather than a military. President Trump and his key advisors share the view that borders are less important than business. When a version of the 28-point peace plan was leaked, it faced sharp opposition. Leaders in Europe and Ukraine complained that the plan largely reflects Russian talking points and breaks nearly all of Kyiv's red lines. They fear Russia is being rewarded with trade opportunities. On another front, Ukraine has synchronized its anti-Russia sanctions with the U.S. and also imposed restrictions on individuals involved in the development and production of Russian drones. President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine continues its sanction efforts, with 2 new decisions made today. As part of a package synchronized with the U.S., Ukraine has imposed sanctions on 26 Russian legal entities related to the energy sector. The second decree introduces sanctions against 36 individuals and 13 legal entities involved in the production and operation of Russian drones, including individuals linked to the Rubicon segment, where new weapon models are tested and which participates in combat against Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin expressed caution and optimism regarding the U.S. peace plan proposed to end hostilities in Ukraine. However, statements from his envoys in recent days have led some analysts to believe they might secure a more favorable deal. Despite ongoing diplomatic activities and optimistic statements, many experts remain skeptical that President Putin is willing to accept a deal at this time or the necessary level of compromise. President Putin is said to have succeeded in rejecting the immediate ceasefire demand previously made by Trump in Alaska in August 2025, while also reducing the risk of additional U.S. sanctions. Simultaneously, Russia continues to intensify attacks on the front line and expand a long-range strike. In autumn, Ukraine's cities and critical infrastructure are under attack. Experts conclude that with each small victory, each village or square kilometer they gain, Russia's position will become increasingly solid. Thank you for watching the video.
Like the journey? Subscribe and join the next expedition.